During Lunar New Year, BYD opened a new service center in Jeonju, South Korea. Now, BYD has 17 service locations in Korea. That's more than Tesla, which has 13. It's even more than Honda, a brand that has been in Korea for many years. They only have 12. So at first glance, BYD looks like it has good momentum in Korea. But once you look at sales, it stinks. In 2025, BYD sold 6,107 cars in South Korea. In the same year, Tesla sold 59,916 cars. Now that's almost a gap of 10 times. In other words, on Korean streets, your chance of seeing a BYD is a whole level lower than seeing a Tesla. But if you want to service a BYD, you can actually find 4 more BYD service centers than Tesla. So what is this exactly? A bad use of resources or a smart early setup? With that question in mind, we visited BYD stores in Seoul during Lunar New Year. I wanted to see why BYD is expanding so fast around the world, but in South Korea, a nearby country, it seems to hit an invisible wall. After walking around Seoul for half a day, my biggest takeaway was this: finding a Chinese car is even harder than finding a trash can. And yes, trash cans in South Korea are genuinely hard to find. I walked 3 streets holding a coffee cup and still couldn't find anywhere to throw it away. Restrooms are hard to find too. McDonald's and KFC don't have them at all. You have to run into the subway station. But cars are different. Cars are everywhere. Just, they're almost all local brands. Korea has a phrase: what's from our land is best for us. It's a simple idea. I was born on this land, so I should eat what this land produces and drive the cars this land builds. When you walk the streets of Seoul, you really feel the weight of those words. Look around and you'll see it everywhere. Hyundai, Kia and Genesis basically cover the entire city. As for BMW and Mercedes-Benz, they are seen as a symbol of developed country status. Tesla, I walked around all day and only saw one. In 2025, South Korea sold over 1.6 million new cars. Hyundai Motor sold over 710,000 and Kia sold over 550,000 units. Together, these two took more than 70% of the market. Genesis, Hyundai's premium brand, also sold over 110,000 in 1 year. Only the remaining less than 30% share is left for BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Volvo, Tesla and BYD, which has only just squeezed into the market. So how thick is this wall, really? In January 2025, BYD officially started selling in South Korea. After 1 year, on a stage dominated by local brands, they fought hard and managed to win 6,107 customers. And this year, their target is only 10,000 units. At a BYD store in Seoul, we met a salesperson who had only been on the job for 3 months. He used to be a Volvo technician. When he talked about the cars, his eyes lit up. But when we started talking about the store's business, his expression dropped.
Nobody here, nobody called. Yeah, the visitor is very low. And also the Starbucks customer goes through our shop to the where? Bathroom. Yeah, goes through the bathroom and electricity, the customer and cinema customer just go through our shop.
This store had very low foot traffic. Starbucks customers walked through the showroom to use the restroom. Moviegoers used it as a shortcut. The place felt like a public hallway. Anything but a car dealership. No visitors, no calls, no test centers. When I asked him how he felt about BYD still opening new stores, he gave a bitter smile.
I think they're opening like more stores, BYD stores this year.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I heard, but well, it can help us. I don't think so, because we have to survival.
Yes.
So more sales guys, then we have a pie, right?
Yes.
We have to share the pie, but more salesmen, we share the small pie. But like this situation, no customer, no calls, no test driving, nothing.
Yeah. That's the real feeling on the front line. What headquarters call strategy turns into something much simpler for him. More people competing to split the same small piece of cake. On the product side, BYD isn't weak at all. The BYD Dolphin and BYD Seagull are selling really well in Europe. And on price, BYD also has an edge. In the same class, that's noticeably cheaper than Tesla. There are also subsidies. The national subsidy is around $3,500. Local subsidy depends on the city. And if you trade in and switch to an EV, you can get another $800. So if you do the math, a Dolphin could end up costing just a bit over $15,000 to drive home. Now the question is, why Koreans aren't buying BYD? I tried to find a clue in what that salesperson told me. He said the best-selling model is the BYD C-Line 7. In South Korea, after just 1 month on sale, the C-Line 7 sold as much as the other 2 models combined over the past 6 months. And when the Koreans shop for an EV, they compare the C-Line 7 with Tesla Model Y, Hyundai Ioniq 5, the Kia E6, and Audi Q4 e-tron. Did you notice it? The answer is hidden in that list. Who makes the Ioniq 5 and the EV6? Hyundai and Kia. And in South Korea, these two brands aren't just local brands, they are the default choice. Koreans don't stick with Hyundai and Kia because they are the cheapest, and not because they are the most advanced. It's because they've always been there. Your dad drove a Hyundai, you learned to drive in a Kia, and your first car as an adult will probably still be one of those two. That is brand inertia. But what BYD is facing is way more than just brand inertia. Out of curiosity, I went through Korean language sites and articles about Chinese cars. In the comments, it's really hard to find anything positive. Thousands, even tens of thousands of comments were mostly saying the same thing. They don't trust it. Don't trust what exactly? Words like quality, safety, and where the technology comes from show up again and again. And that isn't just a few extreme online users. It's a wave of public opinion, and that kind of stereotype is harder to cross than any gap in product performance. BYD is a Chinese brand that's only been in Korea for 1 year, but it gets thrown straight into the same arena with these local giants while carrying decades of old stereotypes on its back. That is not a fair competition. BYD isn't struggling in South Korea because the cars are bad, and it's not because the price isn't low enough. It's because BYD is being judged inside a system that doesn't really fit it. In that system, people aren't comparing product strength, they're comparing brand inertia. They aren't comparing value for money, they're comparing a fear of taking risks. They aren't comparing spec sheets, they're comparing decades of public bias. And there is one more detail you have to notice. South Korea's EV market itself isn't that big. In 2025, South Korea's pure EV penetration rate was 13.1%. That sounds okay. But if you do the math, South Korea sells about 1.6 million new cars a year, and pure EVs are only around 200,000 units. Hyundai and Kia alone take more than half of that market. Kia 27.5%, Hyundai 25%, Tesla has 27%, and BYD has only 2.8%. At this point, I want to throw out a question. South Korea should be one of the best countries for EVs. So why isn't the penetration rate going up faster? Look at it. First, the country is small. The longest common drive in Korea, Seoul to Busan, is under 400 kilometers. An EV can handle that easily. Second, the population density is high, so the cost of building chargers spread across each car should be relatively low. Third, South Korea has strong car manufacturing and strong battery manufacturing. It's not a can't build it problem. Fourth, South Korea lacks oil and relies on imported crude, so the government should have motivation to push EVs. Fifth, South Korea is a high-income country, so people can afford EVs. So, where is the problem? One possible answer is, it's not that EVs don't work, it's that consumers are still watching and waiting. They're not rejecting electrification, they just want to wait a bit and see how it goes for others. Hyundai and Kia EVs keep winning awards, but their sales still aren't as explosive as people expect. That tells you the electrification process in Korea is simply slow. BYD is not slow, it's just starting from someone else's halfway up the mountain starting line. Now flip the angle. If one day Hyundai and Kia EVs sell as well as gasoline cars and Korea's EV adoption truly rises, could BYD's opportunity actually become bigger? Because Koreans won't be doubting EVs as a concept anymore. They'll compare real things. How strong is the product? Is the price worth it? And can the service keep up? And when it comes to service, BYD has already laid the groundwork. Those 17 service locations are not the answer. They are the bet. BYD is betting that Korean market will eventually open up and electrification will eventually spread. And when that day comes, whoever has the denser service network, whoever takes route earlier, will get the biggest slice of the cake. 6,107 units is BYD's first report card in South Korea. 17 location is BYD's long-term commitment to the Korean market. In less than a year, BYD has already given Korean buyers more reasonable and efficient options when choosing an EV. Before, when Koreans thought about EVs, they had only 3 names in mind: Tesla, Hyundai and Kia. Now they also know that there is a BYD Dolphin, BYD Seal and a BYD Sea Lion. Now they know what kind of car you can get for the same kind of money. That's how consumption works. When the options increase, the bias decreases. Bias isn't formed in a day, and it won't disappear in a day either. But every time someone is willing to push that door open, the bias loosens just a little. And even for that alone, BYD has already completed its mission.